Have you ever wondered why the French Revolution, a historical event that occurred over 2 centuries ago, still holds a significant place in our textbooks today? This isn't just a question of historical curiosity. It's about understanding the social, political, and economic forces that shaped our world, that still shape our world. The French Revolution isn't just a chapter in history, it's a key to understanding our present. To answer this, we must first understand what led to this monumental event. So, buckle up as we journey back to 18th century France. Imagine living in a society divided into 3 distinct classes, where the majority of the population suffers from extreme poverty and hunger. Welcome to pre-revolutionary France, a time and place where the societal structure was a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode. The French society was neatly divided into 3 estates. At the top, you had the clergy, the first estate, who were the religious leaders. Then came the nobility, the second estate, the blue-blooded aristocrats. And finally, the third estate, a hodgepodge category comprising everyone else, from well-to-do merchants to struggling peasants. The first and second estates enjoyed immense privileges. They lived in opulence, exempt from paying taxes, while they held the power and wealth of the nation. Now let's ponder upon the irony here. The clergy and nobility made up less than 2% of the population, yet they controlled the nation's riches and dictated the rules. Meanwhile, the third estate, making up more than 98% of the population, bore the brunt of the societal and economic burdens. They were heavily taxed, with their hard-earned money filling up the coffers of the privileged estates. The working class was left to grapple with poverty, hunger, and a lack of basic rights. But the winds of change were starting to blow. The Enlightenment had sparked new ideas about democracy, liberty, and equality. People began to question the established order. Why should the majority suffer while a privileged few lived in luxury? The third estate, from the bourgeoisie to the peasants, started to voice their discontent. Their cries for justice echoed across the land, their anger simmered beneath the surface. This was a society teetering on the edge, a pressure cooker of social unrest, economic hardship, and political dissatisfaction. The stage was set, the actors in their places, and the curtains were about to rise on one of the most dramatic events in history. Unbeknownst to them, their simmering discontent would soon ignite a revolution that would change the course of history. A financial crisis and a failed attempt at reform were all it took to fan the flames of revolution. Indeed, the years leading up to the French Revolution were marked by an economic crisis that left the French kingdom in a state of severe financial distress. The extravagant spending of King Louis XVI and his predecessor, along with costly wars, had drained the royal treasury. Attempts to levy taxes on the wealthy nobility were met with staunch resistance, exacerbating the situation. In response to the crisis, the king summoned the Assembly of Notables in 1787. The assembly, composed of high-ranking nobles, was expected to approve the king's new tax plans. However, they flatly refused, insisting that only the Estates General, a legislative body representing all 3 estates of the French society, the clergy, the nobility, and the commoners, could make such a decision. The king had no choice but to call for a meeting of the Estates General, which hadn't been convened for nearly 175 years. The Estates General was supposed to function as a forum where each estate had 1 vote. However, the third estate, representing the vast majority of the French population, demanded that votes be counted by head, not by estate. This would give them a greater say in the matters of state. The deadlock continued, and the third estate, frustrated by the lack of progress, took a radical step. They declared themselves the National Assembly, a new legislative body representing the people of France. This was a pivotal moment, a bold assertion of political power by the common people that had been unheard of in an age of absolute monarchy. The stage was now set for a revolution that would shake the very foundations of French society. The spark had been lit, and it was only a matter of time before it ignited the powder keg that was 18th century France. The French Revolution, one of the most transformative periods in human history, was about to begin. On June 20th, 1789, a defiant act marked the beginning of a new era. This was the day the representatives of the Third Estate, the commoners, broke away from the Estates General, the traditional representative body of the three estates of the realm. They found themselves locked out of their usual meeting hall at Versailles. Undeterred, they moved to a nearby tennis court. There, they made a solemn pledge known as the tennis court oath, promising not to separate until a constitution was established. This was a bold defiance of royal authority and an assertion of the people's power. The tennis court oath was a significant event, but it was the storming of the Bastille on July 14th that truly signaled the outbreak of the revolution. The Bastille, a state prison in Paris, was seen as a symbol of the monarchy's absolute power and its arbitrary justice. Its storming was prompted by the people's fear of a military crackdown by King Louis XVI. The Parisians sought to arm themselves by seizing the weapons stored at the Bastille. Their successful storming of the fortress prison was a clear message to the monarchy. The people were ready to fight for their rights. But the storming of the Bastille was not just about obtaining weapons. It was also a symbolic act, a blow against tyranny and oppression. It was a visible demonstration of the people's power and their rejection of the old order. The fall of the Bastille was celebrated with great jubilation. It marked the first major victory of the people against the monarchy. The tennis court oath and the storming of the Bastille were crucial events that marked the outbreak of the French Revolution. They showed the determination of the people to assert their rights and challenge the authority of the monarchy. These events were not mere acts of defiance. They were powerful expressions of the people's desire for change, the beginning of a struggle for a more just and equitable society. This was more than a revolt. It was a revolution that echoed the cries for liberty, equality, and fraternity. In the midst of chaos and anarchy, a radical faction seized control, marking the start of a dark period known as the Reign of Terror. From 1793 to 1794, this was a time when the French Revolution took a bloody turn. The Committee of Public Safety, led by Maximilien Robespierre, held the reins of power. They aimed to purge France of enemies of the revolution and protect the country against foreign invaders. But in the process, they initiated a wave of public executions. King Louis XVI was one of the first to face the guillotine. His execution marked a decisive point in the revolution, signaling the end of absolute monarchy and the birth of the French Republic. But the bloodshed didn't stop there. Over the course of just 1 year, an estimated 16,000 people were executed, not just aristocrats, but also revolutionaries accused of being enemies of the state. But as the saying goes, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Robespierre's reign of terror began to eat itself. The very mechanisms of fear and suspicion that he'd used to consolidate power were turned against him. In a twist of irony, Robespierre himself was guillotined in July of 1794, marking the end of the Reign of Terror. In the aftermath, a power vacuum emerged. Enter Napoleon Bonaparte, a military genius who rose rapidly through the ranks. He seized control in a coup d'etat in 1799, promising stability and an end to civil strife. As first consul and later emperor, Napoleon would shape France and indeed much of Europe in his image. But remember, every coin has two sides. The French Revolution, while it did bring about significant social and political change, also unleashed a level of violence and terror that shook France to its core. The idea of liberty, equality, fraternity came at a steep price. The French Revolution had indeed transformed France, but at a heavy cost. The French Revolution, despite its bloody and chaotic nature, left an indelible mark on world history. Its legacy is far-reaching and profound, shaping the world in ways that still resonate today. One of the most significant impacts of the French Revolution was the spread of nationalism. Before the revolution, people were mostly loyal to their local lords and kings, not to the concept of a nation. But the revolution fostered a new sense of national identity among the French people. This sense of national pride and unity spread like wildfire across Europe and beyond, forever changing the way people identify themselves and their place in the world. The revolution also played a pivotal role in the rise of democracy. It challenged the divine right of kings and established the notion that power should come from the people. This radical idea influenced revolutions and democratic movements around the globe, from the shores of America to the heartlands of Europe. Moreover, the French Revolution left a lasting influence on modern political thought. It birthed the idea of rights of man, promoting equality, liberty, and fraternity. These concepts, once revolutionary, are now foundational principles of many modern societies. So, the next time you wonder about the significance of the French Revolution, remember that it was this event that shaped the world we live in today.